welcome again. Here we are, the second morning at sea, and everything's rolling along very nicely. The weather system, which was to the west of us, is coming in. It's coming north-east, and that means that from our position just off of Brest now we start to cut across that and head northwest. So we are to the east of a system. The system is to our west. That system is traveling northeast, and we are going to cut northwest across the front of it. Did I get all that right? I think so. Lots of northy westies there. The main thing is that the conditions are flattened out, so you can see I'm pretty relaxed inside the cabin. Everything's clean and tidy and looking good. Brought the beanbag in because it's easier living inside here. Bunk, which never gets used. I always set up a bunk on these boats and I never ever sleep in it. Like, I always sleep here, and anybody that's sailed with me on Challenger on our Volvo 60 knows I just pretty much sleep at the nav station. Yesterday morning, very rough at sea, and lots of question marks for me on the autopilot. Seemed to be sucking a lot of juice, a lot of power, using up energy very, very quickly. Today, you can see it's a lot more steady. And that's on one of its higher gain settings, so it is actually quite closely holding course. You can choose, so you can get it, you can see here. You can set it between 1 and 7. 1 would be just power economy. 3 is what I did a lot of the other day on, because literally otherwise I'd had to have charged every 3 hours. And the difference for me is that I have gone back through, reinitialized the autopilot and taught it again where full starboard, full port and center is, and done that a few times until it seemed to be a lot happier. And then I went through, and there's a little offset thing you can do, because where center line is very, very important for the autopilot. Otherwise it goes, right, okay, I've done your course correction, I'll put you on course, and oh, you're off course again. No problem, I'll do your course correction, and oh, you're off course again, because that center point is not where it thinks it is. So I went through that a number of times, and well, it seemed to go right. So let's go and have a see on deck and see what's going on. Now, bearing in mind, I am still going slowly. Slowly doesn't necessarily mean not fun. So I had a little 30-minute snooze earlier, and woke up, and the conditions were really very perfect. Now, in these conditions, this boat should have a code 5 or 6, probably 6, which would be quite flat cut, roller furled headsail, stretching towards the top of the mast, but very finely cut at the top, made of mylar or Cuban fiber or something tough, and designed to catch the wind and throw the boat along. We also should only have 1 reef in. Now, we've got 3 reefs in, and we've only got the jib, and the jib, remember, is highly fractional and only goes to the 2nd spreader. Is that correct? Okay, I'm telling porcupines, the staysail goes to the 2nd spreader. It goes to the 3rd spreader. Alright, so it's very fractional. There's a lot of mast beyond the 3rd spreader. What it means is that it's a very small fore triangle, and I guess why I was doubting that, it almost is like a staysail. Like, see, there's a good 2 meters before you're at the bow, and then it goes to the 3rd spreader up here. So DE is depth. Obviously there's no depth reading out here. The speed should be displayed here, but I've had to disconnect the speed sensor on the bottom of the boat because there's 4 of them. There's 2 forwards and 2 aft, and you can choose which one it reads from. They're all a bit knackered, and they're giving speeds like 50 knots and 90 knots and minus 20 knots. And the autopilot, literally, everything's on, everything's connected. It's the issue I had when I very first set off from Falmouth. It just will not read. It will not work when it's reading 50 knots or minus 20 knots. So, yeah, so it's all good here. Pretty closed in with fog. We got about maybe 3/4 of a mile, half a mile view. So the radar is on. It's on a watchman status, which means that it comes on every 10 minutes, I think. actually 5 minutes. 5 minutes on this one, and it does 30 scans, and then it turns itself back off again, and then 5 minutes later it comes back on 30 scans, and it's massively economical for the power. The newer, oh, here we go, 14s. See, any other boat and you'd be like 14, oh my god, but this is literally 6 knots, 7 knots down on what we should be doing. This boat should be sitting on 20, 22 knots now. These are like perfect, these long rolling swells. These are perfect conditions for it, and her polars, she runs up to 22.5, although I think she needs a bit more wind. But I've got no wind speed, I've got wind angle, which is what she's steering to now, as you can see, but she's steering to wind angle at the moment. But the anemometer cups are all seized up there, so I got no wind speed, but it looks like it's about 20 knots or so. Alright, well, we won't get too relaxed. I've still got to maintain all this, and let's come back later on and see what's going on. Whoa, oh, hello. Who's this? Join me in one of my least favourite bits of sailing, which is the lull after a storm or the bubble in the middle of a storm. The wind at the moment, we were going north with an apparent wind angle of 150, nearly 160, okay? So we were virtually running in front of the wind that was coming from the south. We're now going west on the opposite tack, with the wind coming basically from the north. So the waves are very confused. Let's have a quick see here. So, see if I don't know, can you see wave sets? Alright, so I don't know if this works, you can very rarely see wave. So the waves are coming in lines like this, right? So I should be on the opposite tack going up it at 45 degrees, or over here going up it, right? I've got the wind behind me and I'm going up the wave. Both myself and Boaty are very confused. It's normal though, and it's actually why we came here. We came here to get to the other side of the system that we're in, to hook into these northerlies, and then to start going west on the northerlies. The issue obviously is there's a convergence zone where the bottom half of the system, which is going one way, is trying to interface with the other half of the system that's going the other way. It's all going anti-clockwise, or it's got a kind of ridge through the middle of it on this one, and there's just two bits of wind just basically heads on playing chicken with each other, and then a big mess in the middle. So what will happen is we're just creeping forward here. We've got a ground speed of 3 knots, which is not going to do much. Basically all you can do is strap the sails in as tight as possible. If you've got a full main, you know, it's very light wind, obviously it'd be doing a lot better if we didn't have 3 reefs in a main. But if you had full main, you might want to put a reef in to stop the belly of the sail moving backwards and forwards. This jib is so flat and hard anyway. I've actually eased it just to get a bit of drive out of it, but there's no possible chance that it's going to like bag and slat and move around. So bizarrely, in the light wind conditions after a storm, when you're trying to make your way through that transition, keeping your reef in can be useful to stop the sails moving. And then just strap everything tight. Every time the boat rocks, it pumps and maybe helps you go forward. For most people, you're going to have the engine, so it's going to motor in the direction you want to go. My engine's on, but it's just charging. But if you're racing, or if you... don't get me wet. Oh, there you go. Didn't get me wet. Thank God. Ocean's got a wonderful sense of humour when it comes to soaking you when you're on deck in just your bibs. Okay, so I'm going to keep focusing on this, because this won't be very wide, particularly if this system is sweeping through. If it's doing 20 or 30 knots northeast, we're sitting in a bubble that could be 10 miles wide. It's going to be through in half an hour, so just going to keep going here. We've got the jib up, and then if it all goes wrong, well, not wrong, if it all suddenly gets very, very windy on the other side of the thing, it'll be roll away the jib, and then the staysail comes out, it's down on the deck and a couple of sail ties, and back we go. And hopefully, with the wind then coming from the north, and us going west, home in time for tea and medals. My birthday is on the 3rd of October, it's the 22nd or 3rd today, I have to look at the log. So we gotta get like now, and there we go. It's 20 minutes later. I put the kettle on, just about to have a cup of coffee. The wind's come in. We're steering 300, which is about right. As it intensifies, we'll bear away a little bit. All right, so we got our wind. Gotta be careful with the wind, with the waves still. Actually, thinking about it, I gotta stay tight up on the wind. Otherwise I'm going to be jumping over the waves, which will be a right mess, and I really don't want to do that because we're costing this rig, of course. Alright, I'm going to get ready because I know what's going to happen next. It's going to get very windy and that headsail's going to need changing. The wind's filling in. The wind's filling in as we expected. Got my coffee. I got my coffee here. Better. Got my coffee, got my jacket on, got my balaclava on. It's getting a bit cold. That helming in the middle of that, whatever that was back there, was interesting because I was trying to go up waves and dodge the big troughs and everything. I ended up doing it and getting a little bit cold because I didn't dress properly. It's just to get engrossed in something, and that's that, right? So warming myself up now. Because I know what's going to happen. Like, it was super strong winds, and then the wind angle started to change, and then the wind started to drop, and then the wind crapped out entirely. So on the other side of it, let's get my coffee sorted out here. On the other side of it, we should see wind speed increasing, wind angle changing, and then we'll be back to where we're at before, heading in basically almost like 180 degrees the opposite. No, 90 degrees. Sorry, opposite direction. So I've got the, over here on the forward winch, I've got the furler line for the jib already made up. I've eased the jib a little bit. It's calling me down. It wants me to go down and go faster. My course is 310, which I want about 270 really. I'm virtually upwind at 310, but if I bear away, I'm going to be going back up the waves, which were part of the preceding weather pattern. I will be, if I start doing that at 10-12 knots, I will be leaping clear of the swells. And whilst this boat can take that, and the fact that it can take that is, you know, what we've got it for this westabout run, it can't take it right now. So we're just going to go nice and gentle. So whilst the seas sort themselves out, you see, look here, I don't know if you can tell, like, the waves are coming in to me, and actually up here is upwind. This is upwind over here. This is downwind, and the waves are coming up to me from downwind. They say stranger things have happened at sea. This is where all the strange things happen. So for now, it's coffee and the satisfaction of knowing that I may have a bead on what's about to happen, as opposed to what you normally do, which is rest on your laurels and then go, oh my goodness me, we better get that sail down. Because we never did anything with the mainsail, because we can't. Hey, I tell you what, I shook from reef 4 to reef 3, was it yesterday or whatever? Man alive, it is a long way. It's not that long way between stops. It's, you know, there's reef 4 up there, and there's reef 3, right? No big deal. It's maybe 20 foot or something, right? Now I'm used to doing that with a 2-speed winch at the mast with a 2-to-1 halyard, and it's 114 tons of the winch. I can tell you because I know. This is a 3-part halyard on a 3-speed winch with the grinder. Oh my god! Like. It's going and going and going and going and going. Like, I was sitting there, well, standing there thinking, I should get one of those recumbent cycle things. So you can just, you know, do it with your with your legs. Then I was thinking about Waterworld and thinking that Kevin Costner was way ahead. And then I was thinking, what a good chap Kevin Costner is. He delivered all of that post. He saved that little girl from that tanker. He investigated and showed everybody the truth behind Kennedy's assassination. And he jailed Al Capone. Like, what a guy. What a guy. And he can breathe underwater. So Kevin Costner is one of my true heroes. Yes, I'll have some more coffee. This is where the nasty things are. That is why we only sneak outside to look and we don't do silly filming things. Well, yes, this is what happens if, let's just, oh, I should be getting used to it by now, 20 years of it.